I am not impressed. Welcome back, I'm Captain Xavier, and this is the second episode of Slightly Unfair Reviews. The show where I show off blasters that are roughly similar to each other that have, well, more or less recently come out. Some of them are getting a little old because it's taken me forever to be able to do these videos because of weather. Anyway, today we're looking at, I'm going to refer to them as DMRs, designated marksman rifles. Wouldn't really call them sniper rifles because Nerf just isn't long enough range to really earn that title, I feel. But I'm going to be comparing the Dart Zone Pro to the Ceda Model S, and then also throwing in a Talon Claw and a Caliburn for the unfair portion. I'll be reviewing, the ergonomics, the functions, the features. We'll also, of course, do accuracy, range, FPS, get all those numbers for you so that you guys can really get a feel for the differences and see which one you might want over another one. So let's go straight to the firing demonstrations because that's what I know most of you are here for. Absolutely gorgeous weather here on the range today. We're going to start with the Dart Zone Pro with the full-size magazine shooting the bamboo darts that they come with. Sir. See if I can hit a target at 50 feet. I can. Fairly well. Lovely. All right. And now for the half dart. Bamboo darts. See if I can hit anything. I think I did better that time. I wasn't actually counting. So yeah, you can hit a man-sized target at 50 feet with this stock using the darts that they sent you. Lovely. See if the Ceda can do that. All right, so we have the Ceda with the stock spring in it, shooting the red darts it came with out of a full-sized half-dart magazine. See if I can hit anything. Yes, but I'm aiming a full foot above the target. Let's try the other ammo. So now we've got the blue rubber dome heads that are apparently the Pack D style. I hope I'm getting that correct. As opposed to the ACCs, which the red ones are. Apparently these are what will be shipping in the future. I don't know the details. Nobody tells me anything. I'm getting all this from Bradley Phillips. I assume he would know. Alright, see if it's any better, worse. But still beautifully accurate. But now I'm aiming 18 inches, 2 feet above the target. It just doesn't seem to have the power with that stock spring. And those heavier darts seem to slow it down a lot more. let's try something a bit more impressive. Silver Fox Talon Claw shooting Gen 3 workers from a Talon mag. One more. So it has more than enough power, but this currently lacks any kind of a scar barrel, and so it actually has a little too much power, and they're getting a little squirrely on me. So I either need to, well, it's got a K25, it's already fairly low, but yeah, needs a scar barrel. Speaking of scar barrels, here we have Uller, my Caliburn, shooting the worker full-length reds. And we'll, see if I can hit anything. Train! That's how close the train is to my home. And now Uller with Gen 2 workers. See if I can hit anything. Yep, I can. I barely had the had the scar barrel turned down to practically nothing. I might try it again with it tuned. Just because I'm curious, we're now firing the bamboo half darts out of Uller with the scar barrel actually engaged, and I'm gonna see if I can't hit the 70. Yep. Had to adjust for windage. Oh, a little short. Yeah! That's neat. Alright. Let's get the numbers. Right, I know you all love your numbers, so let's get some numbers. Starting with the Dart Zone Pro with the full length darts. 162. 150, 152, 150, 152. So, right about where they said it should be. Let's take a look at the half darts from their half dart magazine, their bamboo half darts. 154, 164, 153, 156, 154. So, about the same, whether it's half dart or full dart, which is interesting. Now we have the Dart Zone Pro with its stock spring and the blue darts. I think they're the Pack D, I think they're called, style darts. See what kind of performance we get out of these. 100, 94, error, 84, 130, 84. It's weird. I'll try some worker Gen 3s just because I'm curious. Switch mag adapters. 130, 135, 148, 136, 139. Okay, so these are no good. At least not on the stock spring. Right now, my Silver Fox Industries Talon Claw with the Worker Gen 3s from a Talon magazine. 177, 209, 208, 205, 180. Yep. That's why it's unfair. And finally, my Caliburn, first firing worker full length, the red worker full length, just because I'm curious. I don't think I've ever fired him out of this thing before. 158, 185, 185, 186, 192. That first one was a bit low. And now, Worker Gen 2s. 180, 149, 185, 173, 188. Fascinating. Fascinating. So when I fired the blue darts that came with things, the Pack D, I hope that's what they're called, out of my Talon Claw, I was getting the 180s again. So I've gone ahead and upgraded the spring in this with that heavier spring that I have, and I'm going to see what we're getting now. 160, 170, 169. So yeah, we're back to about normal numbers. About. Try some Worker Gen 5 in this thing. Blew the head off. 170, 163, and I'm blowing the heads off of everything. Blew the head off of all 5 of those. So maybe don't use Worker Gen 3s in this thing. That was weird and wasteful. Dubious. Talk about this. Right, well, let's continue to get numbers. I'm going to do a little bit discussing the darts. Not going to go into a whole lot of detail on the darts because I don't have a whole lot of information to go with there. But obviously we've got our worker darts over here that I fired out of my Talon Claw and Caliburn, and then we've got the darts that came with the newer blasters. We have the bamboo style full-length and half darts, and then we have these ones that are coming with the Ceda. First thing we're going to look at is weight, starting with the original worker darts. They're coming in at, so we got a 1.10, 1.10, 1.10, they're fairly consistent. That one's considerably heavier. And the Gen 2s, 1.03, 1.01, 1.00, 1.0. So the Gen 3s are apparently a little bit lighter. That is interesting. Let's take a look at the bamboo ones. Yep. 0.94, 0.95, 0.98, 0.94, murder user, 0.99. So they're even lighter than the Gen 3s. Let's take a look at these ones. Now, I don't think I noted this in the review video, but the blue darts that came in the package and the red darts that they sent separately are different. They have slightly different heads, and I've been informed that they have considerably different shafts inside the foam. These ones are apparently considerably longer, and as a result are much more stable, where I had about 1 in 10 of these get their heads blown off. So let's take a look at the weights on those. So the red ones, 1, 1.5, 1.6, 0.96, 1.03. Now we'll take a look at the blue ones. 0.05, 0.05, 0.07, damn it, 0.03, 0.07. So the heaviest are still the Gen 2s, then the blue ones, then the red ones, then the purple ones, then the green ones. Let's take a look at the full length bamboo. 1.2, so it's almost the same weight. Yeah, they're the same weight as a Gen 2 half dart. That's hilarious. 0.09, 0.11. Take a look at the worker full lengths. 0.3, 1.33, 1.32, 1.32. Okay, well, that's fascinating that these are so light. Interesting. These ones, as far as I know, are still being regarded as some of the better darts out there. The lightweight would help with the FPS, and the bamboo design, I assume, is resulting in a really good seal, but far less friction, because there's only those 4 points of contact, or in the case of the half darts, 2 points of contact, which will get you a good seal, so you're not wasting air volume, but you're also not wasting energy trying to clear the barrel because of friction. So that is fascinating. Length, the purple ones are the longest. The rest of them are all right about the same. These ones are a little bit shorter. The bamboo ones are a little bit longer. The foam is longer. The head is shorter. So, Brian. So take what you will from that information. I didn't notice any huge difference in accuracy. These ones were probably the most accurate, but not enough so to make a huge difference in my opinion. But that is largely because my blasters are not tuned enough to really take advantage of a superior dart. They are, I would say, probably the most consistent of all of them as far as design. Things like the worker heads tend to fluctuate how far apart they are. These ones just seem to have really poor quality control. These ones I haven't tested enough to know, but there's my take on the new darts that we've got. I hear these ones are being discontinued in favor of these. Don't quote me on that. That was something that I heard from Bradley Phillips, so that may or may not be the case. But enough about the darts. Let's talk about the blasters. Alright, well, let's talk about the stock performance. The Ceda obviously had the poorest stock performance, but then it does have that stock spring, which has proved to be a bit underpowered. But it is getting what they advertise. So that's not exactly an unfair or necessarily a negative thing, because it still is incredibly accurate. It just doesn't have all that power. So that's kind of a, if you want something that's very accurate but isn't going to hurt people, this is actually a very good option. The Dart Zone Pro has considerably better power and is every bit as accurate. So that was kind of interesting. The darts that came with them are hard to really tell how significant of a difference they are making. Obviously, the bamboo darts are considered to be very, very good. The dome-tipped ones that come in with here, the blue ones get significantly lower performance for whatever reason. The red ones get a little better performance, but the heads keep getting blown off. So there's quality controls issues with the red darts. The blue ones have an issue with on the lower power, but once you put in the heavier spring, it was performing every bit as well as the Dart Zone Pro as far as power and accuracy. So that's kind of an interesting trade-off when you look at just looking at the stock numbers. This one got obviously higher FPS than this one did, but accuracy, in my opinion, was comparable. Then if you look at, obviously, my Talon Claw without a scar barrel has a great deal of power, but has very poor accuracy because it's got too much power, and it's causing the dart's flight to be a little bit erratic. So I definitely could use some form of a scar barrel on that one, and I do want to get the stock put on that. Currently, we'll discuss that. The Caliburn, obviously, it's a Caliburn with a scar barrel. It's fantastic. It's very accurate. I was able to reach out to the 75 target and hit it at least once, and got within inches of it with all the rest of the shots. So Caliburn obviously still on top, but that's the unfair part of this review. Let's take a look at some of the various features and controls, and really what sets the blasters apart from each other, in my opinion. And you guys can make your own decisions on whether you consider something to be a good thing or a bad thing, or a selling point, or what have you. We'll start with the Dart Zone Pro because it came out first. The biggest complaint, let's get those right, that most people had was the stock, and their complaints were entirely justified. The problem is the retention peg is beveled. And that's absolutely ridiculous, because it means that if you actually try to use the stock to brace, so when it's locked, if you actually try to brace, it just slams in. It doesn't actually lock in place, and that is just absolutely a design flaw. And I don't know who thought it was a good idea to make that slide easily. The whole point of a locking adjustable stock is that it locks. The good news is that they did design it with a standard buffer tube, AR-style buffer tube. So you can put whatever AR-style stock you want on here. Anything that fits on a regular buffer tube will, in fact, fit on here, and this one does not slip. So the issue was with this part, not with the tube, which is good. So, stock that came with it, if you put a screw in so that it couldn't slide, or it looks like there's actually a hole that you could easily do that with, then, you'd lose the adjustability, but it's still a very comfortable and decent looking stock. It just doesn't catch. I'd love it if somebody could. It wouldn't be hard to come up with a replacement catch. The problem is that the stock doesn't come apart. It's all solvent welded or glued or whatever together. So getting it out and replacing it would be an issue. So that's a detriment. It does have a safety. Fire, safe. It's just a trigger locking safety. That's a neat feature. Personally, I like that. I do like the mag release. It's nice and long. So when you're using the full-size one, you can use your thumb. It's also positioned so that you can use your middle finger to release it, and the magazines do drop out. I do like that. It does not have the ability to be unprimed. You cannot deprime the blasters. You have to dry fire it if you prime it and you want to get it right. But it does appear to have an AR. It doesn't sound like it's going to shatter if you dry fire it, so that's not really apart, which it makes it, the fact that it hits 170 out of the box, fairly impressive. So I like that it comes with a vertical foregrip. That does make it easy to prime. I'm not personally a fan of them, but I like that it comes with it. It does screw on. There's 4 screws and it just clamps around, but what it's clamped around is Picatinny rail. So if you wanted to replace it with an angled foregrip like the ones I much prefer, you can do so. You can put whatever Picatinny rail grip you want on there. So it's nice that they made that option. The fact that this isn't a Picatinny rail attachment is weird because it means you can't take this off and use it on something else. And we'll see that come up more than once on this thing. The sights that come with it are kind of not exactly fake. I mean, they do actually have, you know, a sight picture and all of that, but they look like they're supposed to be flip-up sights like the ones I have on my Caliburn and my Talon Claw, but they aren't. So, points for style, no points for functionality. They do have pins or screw holes so that if you wanted to lock it in place, you could. Otherwise, they just kind of slide freely on the Picatinny rail. It is Picatinny rail. It will take any magazine as far as I can tell. There may be some drum mags that this lip here interferes with, but all standard stick mags, whether it be, you know, worker full-length magazines, whether it be the half-dart magazines, whether it be any of the various adapters, even the katana adapter, they will all work. Now, the magazines that came with it are not universal. They went out of their way to make it so that their magazines will only fit in their blaster, which is a weird choice. There's an extra tab on either side and slots on either side here, so that this will fit in this, but it will not fit in this. And that's an odd choice, in my opinion. The same is true for their adapter. Their half-dart magazine is also not compatible with anything else. It almost fits in the EZ mag. Well, it'll fit, and it will lock, but it is actually bowing the thing slightly and causing it to not fit when you have it in an actual blaster. This one might be a little bit looser. I might try it in that one. Oh, so there you go. Yeah. The easy adapter and this one, because the magwell's a little loose, actually will work. Didn't want to work in my Caliburn, but the magwell in my Caliburn's a lot tighter, so it will kind of fit in the this one's magwell, but it's real tight. It does lock, but it makes for a real tight fit. So that was kind of an odd choice on their part, to make their magazines not universal, but to make their blaster take anybody else's. I understand the logic behind that. We want people to be able to use everything else in ours, but we don't want people using ours and everything else. Okay. The one downside, and this is something that I do consider to be, you know, kind of a lesser point, but it's not something they ever really claimed. We'll get into, you know, to how that's different with the Ceda, is that it does appear to have 2 takedown pins. You then take the thumb screws out, and you would think, well, this will make it easy takedown, and I'll be able to easily upgrade or what have you. And no. It doesn't actually grant you access to the internals. It just makes it easy to take apart to store. They do have replacement kit, or a different barrel. This one has the metal barrel, and it does come with a plastic barrel. And just by, I think there's 7, 8 screws to take apart, and you can take it apart and swap the barrels out. But the quick takedown doesn't actually have any true functionality other than storage and moving or packing or what have you. So that's a feature it lacks that they could have given it. As for ergonomics, this one is actually my favorite. I love the rubberized grip and the styling on the grip. I absolutely love it. I know people who apparently despise it. I, on the other hand, think it's incredibly comfortable, and I really, really appreciate that for mine. The magazine release is ambidextrous. I appreciate that. The safety is in a good location, actually. You can get it with your trigger finger and thumb easily enough if you're planning to use the safety a lot. We'll get into this one's not quite so good on that. So all in all, it's a really nice blaster. The price is a little bit less than the Caliburn, and I believe the price of the 1.1 is even a little bit less. So you're getting a decent competitive blaster. These are easy to get up to that 200 mark. So they're good for things like blaster tag association and more competitive stuff. I don't believe the top end is anywhere near what you can get with the top end on a Caliburn, because the plunger tube is just nowhere near the size. And there's just really not a whole lot you can do about that. I also don't know if there are much in the way of upgrade kits for it. I haven't really looked into it. I know people did do a lot of work with them and found them to, in fact, be acceptable. They are what they claim to be, which is really what you can say. So out of the box, not a bad blaster. I'm enjoying it. Let's take a look at the Ceda. Now, looking at all the same things, the Ceda stock was also something that people complained about. It wasn't that it collapsed, it's just that it was kind of loose and not the most comfortable, and other various mostly cosmetic issues as opposed to functional issues. But it also uses a standard AR buffer tube, so you can put whatever stock you want on it. They have one that looks remarkably like the one that came off, which is handy. Apparently these little tubes are for holding batteries, though I don't know how you're supposed to get it off. Looks like you have to actually take it all the way off in order to rotate them and pull them off. Anyway, so yeah, once you replace the stock, that's fabulous. This one does not have the slippage issue, so I'm tempted to actually put it onto here and just have it as a stock. It's nice, it's adjustable. This one would need to get permanently attached to something, and that's just not, frankly, worth the effort. Looking at controls, it also has a safety, and unfortunately its safety is not in a good location, because if you tilt the blaster to, if you're left-handed and you tilt the blaster to change your magazine, there's a real good chance you're going to rock your hand right onto the safety and put it on safe, and then when you go to fire, your blaster will not fire and you panic and die. So they could have put that somewhere a little bit different, even if they just moved it up onto a little bit high, so that it wouldn't have hit your hand when you rolled. That would have been better. The mag release, it doesn't have the thumb release, but since this has a half dart kit only, you have to use the adapter, and the adapter has that built in. Whereas otherwise you have to use the trigger one, which isn't bad. You can use your middle finger if you really want to. That's a little bit awkward, but it is ambidextrous, and I do appreciate that. So if you have like the Omni kit in here, which can take full-length darts, then you would be using that. Otherwise, you're going to be using that mag release anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Ergonomics are not, personally, quite as nice on this one. The handle is better than the original, but it's not, in my opinion, as nice as the Darts on Pro. It's not as sculpted. It's not rubberized, but it is at least textured, so it's not nearly as bad. The pump grip, on the other hand, is not good. It's a little too slick if you have any kind of a heavier spring load. Otherwise, you got to hook your finger up there, and then you end up getting that tendon sore from pretty much the whole prime being done on your middle finger. So there are on Thingiverse replacement grips that have Picatinny rail. I wish they'd put Pic rail on this, so that you could have done a different grip or something else, rather than just having that fairly smooth, or had something at the back, had it flipped around so you had something that your hand was bracing on as opposed to slipping. But there are replacement ones that have Pic rail, and then you can put whatever grip you want on it. Does have full Picatinny rail on the top. Didn't come with any kind of sights, iron sights, but did, at least not as far as I know, did come with this Evike scope, or at least mine did, because they wanted, to butter me up to give them a good review, which they got. I actually do like it. The big feature that Ceda had, that was their big selling point that they had that nobody else had, was the takedown. The ability to pull 2 pins and take the blaster apart, and be now able to get to the internals. If you want to trade out your bolt sled, you just have to take out the 2 thumb screws. If you want to change out your breech, if you want to change out your barrel, all of that is toolless and simple. Swapping out the spring is simply a matter of opening, just spreading that slightly so that the plunger and plunger tube can come out. You can then swap your spring, put it back in. Come on, there we go. locks into place. Line up the bolt so it goes into the plunger. And done. It really is that slick and is every bit as cool as they tried to make everyone think it was. That is just absolutely neat that I have now increased the spring load. Just that simple. That is absolutely cool, and I wish more blasters had that particular feature. For magazines, the kit that came with it, I got the Alpha kit, is half dart only. But again, that's as advertised. They do have kits that will take full darts, but apparently they're not particularly good. And most people, if you're going to be running something like this, you're going to run half darts anyway. It does come with an adapter. It takes katana mags, but it will take absolutely anything else. The full mags with the half dart thing. I covered all this in my review of that. It's much more versatile in many ways than it needed to be, and that's actually pretty cool. So its performance was a little bit lower, but again, if you're needing one that's a little bit lower, you've got that. And it's so easy to swap out springs, and springs are cheap. I don't see that as a detriment out of the box. It was hitting, 150 out of the box with some of the darts. With other darts, it was hitting lower. Those blue darts got much lower. Other darts were a little bit higher and were acceptable for like super stock wars. And the accuracy was spot on. So again, it's what they advertise. And there are plenty of upgrade kits for it. It will take most Retaliator or Prophecy kits, like the Bolt Sled is a Prophecy Bolt Sled or a Retaliator Bolt Sled. So there are lots of available kits for it. The Dart Zone Pro doesn't have that. It's better performance out of the box, but there aren't as many kits as far as I know, whereas this one is using existing kits, and that's actually pretty cool. So that's my thought on the two of those. Now to get to the unfair part, taking a look at the Talon Claw and the Catlaburn. Obviously, the power in both of those is significantly better, and the upper end of what you can get out of them is significantly higher because they've been specifically engineered to raise the bar above and beyond, where these are meant to get into that super stock Blaster Tag Association 200 FPS cap market that existed. They obviously didn't want to go too far beyond that because then they start becoming arguably dangerous. They still look like toys. They're still foam dart toys. Somebody might get them for their kid, and if they're hitting way over that limit and somebody loses an eye, they've opened themselves up to potential liability. And even at the levels that they're at, that is more of a risk than with your stock Nerf blasters, and they are obviously marketing it for that, and it's on the packaging that the FPS and the potential dangers and all of that. These ones are obviously designed to go all the way out. Now this one doesn't have a stock. This one was made for me by Silver Fox Industries. He did print me the Devil Z Nerf Works back end that it's an adjustable stock, but I don't have the hardware. Because I have to order it from Germany, and I'm toying with the idea of seeing if I can pick it up while I'm in Germany. Otherwise, I'll just order it. But then it has perfectly good adjustable stock. I think there is actually a back end that is just a stock attachment point, but you'd need a really short stock, or it would get uncomfortably long. But this is a short blaster with a short prime anyway, so you could get away with quite a bit, actually. Obviously, this one is half dart only. The Talon Claw was designed for half dart only. That's why it has such a short prime. It makes for a very small, more compact package. But it is designed to take either Talon mags or Katana mags naturally. It will not, however, take Dart Zone Pro mags. I mean, you could probably force it in there, but it would not be worth the effort. So, again, kind of a downside there. Other than that, fantastic. Picatinny rail. This one was probably the least accurate of all of these because it does not have a scar barrel and has too much power. And without the rifling to contain that power and to force it into a straight line, it got really erratic. And that's just the fact that I haven't bothered to put a scar barrel on it yet. Caliburn, obviously the king of the hill here. Captain Slag is a genius, and we don't deserve him. it will take anything. The only thing it won't take are, of course, Dark Zone Pro Mags, because why? But it will take any of the other ones. It'll take any of the adapters, other than the Dark Zone Pro one, of course. But it can fire full, half darts, full darts, whatever, Picatinny rail, all that. This one is a Scar barrel, so it was the most accurate and had the greatest range. I was hitting the 75-foot target. My original Caliburn came out before the quick teardown Caliburns were a thing, so it doesn't have that feature. You do have to take the back of the blaster apart in order to swap out the spring. But the newer models, and including my Talon Claw here, are quick disassemble. Not quite as easy as these, as the pins don't have rings on them, though you could probably get pings with rings on them. Pins with rings on them. Pings. Ping! But you take those two out, and now it does come apart, and apparently your plunger tube comes along with it. Surely you're supposed to be attached to something. As I was saying, take out the two pins, front end pops off, and you can now swap out your spring. I think I currently have K25 in here, but you could put, K26 or whatever else you wanted. It does take a shorter spring than a Caliburn does, yet still has incredible performance. And if you have a teardown Caliburn, it's pretty much exactly the same. Put your two pins back in, and you're good to go. Because that's that. So if you're going to try to compare these to Talon Claws and Caliburns, it's not fair. They're not intended to compete on that level, with the level that those ones were specifically engineered to compete on. So they do what they are expected to do. They do what the manufacturers claim they will do, and that's really quite impressive, in my opinion. There was something I was gonna say about the Dark Zone Pro. One of the complaints about the Dark Zone Pro, and I haven't tested every possible ammo type to see if this is true, is that it is a bit finicky about ammo types, especially large-headed ones. So the darts that they came with have very small heads, so they don't snag the barrel, but are still very, very squishy. So it's not like they hit too hard. But the Caliburn had the same problem. A lot of Caliburns have issues with anything other than things like men guns or the worker darts or things that have particularly small heads on them. So they both suffer from that shortcoming when it comes to full-length darts. Some of the newer barrels, I understand, on the Caliburn don't have that issue, and I haven't tried the plastic barrel on these, but I have heard they're fairly well tuned towards those bamboo darts. That those are the ones that absolutely work best, and anything else is going to be subpar, which that's what they designed it around. So it's kind of fair. It is, in my mind, a negative on its side, because you can't use everything you already have. And if you're going to be able to take the full-length magazines, you would think it would be able to fire the full-length darts, but not always the case. These ones obviously can only fire half darts, and so you know that going in. If you're going to be buying one of those, you have enough magazines, you have enough darts. I don't see that as a negative per se. If you really want this one to be able to fire full-length darts, they do have kits for that, but the performance is going to suffer. So that's kind of my take on these. I really like them both. This one, I love that it came in my colors. This one, I actually already have somebody who reached out to me and is willing to trade me a red one. I have heard that mine was getting better performance than other people's. I had the same thing happen with my Terminator. So either they're just putting them together wrong, they're getting sent lemons, or they need to start saying prayers to the right gods and maybe sacrifice a goat or something. I don't know. Because I was very pleased with the performance that it got stock, very pleased with the performance it got with the upgraded spring. Need to replace the pump grip. That's really my only complaint. What are the prices for these blasters? So the Ceda with the Alpha kit, I believe, was something along the areas of like $79, $89? I think it was $89. There was a cheaper one with the Omni kit, but you're getting the Omni kit. The Dark Zone Pro, the original one, I think was like $160 or $180. I don't remember exactly, but you're looking up at that upper end. The Dark Zone Pro 1.1, I believe, is less. Some people got them as low as like $61, and now they're like $140 or something like that. Caliburns and Talon Claws, you're looking, up in the 170s, 180s as well. So if you're really wanting the top-end blaster, obviously the Caliburn or the Talon Claw have a lot more power and a lot more potential power. Dart Zone Pro is decent out of the box. Mod potential is low. This one is by far the cheapest, almost half the price of the other ones, and does have a lot of mod potential because it takes Retaliator and Prophecy kits. So yeah, price for the price. This one's really probably the best performance for the price. Once you get that upgraded spring, springs are cheap. So you could get 2 of these for the price of one of the other ones, and probably a spring to upgrade it. So yeah, you can get an awful lot of upgrade parts for this for that $90. So yeah, really kind of up to you. That's all the information I've got for you. Train! Thank you for watching. Hope this was useful. There will be more. I do have 2 more episodes planned, and I think I have all the blasters now, and now the weather is good enough I might actually be able to film them. I will get those out in the near future. A lot of people were wanting more of these, and I actually do enjoy these. This kind of review I can get behind, because it's not just, well, here it is, do you like it? It's comparing things, and it's more useful, in my opinion. So, hopefully you found some of this useful. Hopefully I haven't been completely wrong about all of it. Prices, I'm not actually sure what a Talon Claw costs. I've never paid for one. They just keep showing up in the mail. Gotta get yourself one of them YouTube channels. So, if you like this channel, if you're enjoying this stuff, do feel free to support it. You know the ways to support it. Like, comment, subscribe, Patreon, all that jazz. So, yeah. Thanks for watching.